Hello everyone, welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. We are here with session number 29 of Beneath the Banner's Shadow. This is a D&D 5th edition campaign that we have been playing for some time now. I'll get into that in just a moment. But tonight's episode is titled Le Morte de Dane. Something very big and impactful happened at the end of last session, which was 2 months ago, so I'm very eager to be getting back to this, because it's going to be a very special evening. Baron is not with us yet. I anticipate that he'll be here at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, but we'll just juggle things around once he gets in. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So before we do, however, I want to say a heartfelt thank you to Rachel for Rachel Ayers. She designed most of the shields that you will be seeing throughout the course of this campaign. Yep, the one that Karen is indicating beside her, as well as the one that is beside Tord's name over here. The others were not her. House Criminac, yep, the one up at the top. Fantastic work. She was a wonderful artist to work for, or work with rather, and she's a fantastic human being. So check her out. Hire her for your stuff. Anybody who mentions a channel whenever we do our introductions, you should be able to find the links to those channels and projects down in the description of this video down below. Please do go check them out. What else? Ah, yes. If mature language and mature subject matter and immature humor are things that bother you, then I don't know how you found your way here, but you have made a mistake and you should turn around. Seriously, don't watch this video if those kinds of things get under your skin, because there's going to be plenty of it. Speaking of under your skin, I'm going to pass things over to my players so that they can introduce themselves and tell you what they've got going on, where you can find them on the internet, and things like that. And then we're going to get started. So we'll start with Eli.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eli. It's very good to be back. You may remember me from previous episodes many, many moons ago. I have been wandering this wide world, but I've returned and I'm ready to be smacked fresh in the face with sorrow at the loss of my dear former squire. Anyway, I'm playing Sir John Lightnor, and I am a knight, and I'm very excited to be back. It's been a very long time. Hello, everyone. I missed you. Also, hey, by the way, you have an animated intro that's new since the last time I was here.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. This is the first video that is premiering it, actually. So a good friend of mine, Jacob Norman, did that for me a couple of weeks ago, and I'm excited to be adding that onto the front of my games now. Makes it feel official and shit. So
it looks great.
Thanks. Thank you. All right. Speaking of looking great, next up, Steve.
Clearly, I was not expecting that segue because I was like, huh? What? Look, button, click. So is it too on the nose if I say I've been dying to play? Because, yeah, the weight's been killing me. I was really crushed to play last time.
W-I-W-A-I-T or W-E-I-G-H-T?
Well, I mean, the church has been weighing on me. That's right. Yeah, so I'm excited to watch tonight. And I'd say I'd be playing Dane, but I mean, I guess I can't. I'll just mute and sit here. So, yep, that's me. I'll be playing Todd the Baker. Deathly allergic to churches. Turns out so is Dane. Didn't know he was big into drugs, but he's totally stoned. All right, well, I'm done.
Did you write these down?
Nope. It'd have been worse if I thought about them. Yeah.
Worse.
So I ordered an ascot, Jeremy, for something tangential to this because of what you asked me last night about the 29th. So I was like, bright orange ascot, perfect.
Wonderful. I can't wait to see that. All right. Next, but certainly not least, what the hell is my brain and my tongue sometimes don't get along, and you all get to witness that. So congratulations. Next, we have... I almost did it again. Eddard. Josh, please.
Hey, everybody. My name is Josh. Tonight, I'm going to be playing Eddard Bainton Pendrake again. And no worries, Steve. I think you're gonna knock them all dead tonight. I think you're gonna do just a fine job. Really excited to be back with you guys. Sorry we couldn't play last month, but better late than never. And yeah, I'm excited on one hand, and on the other hand, and both of my feet, I'm just terrified to see what's going to happen. So yeah, I'm not going to push it further anymore. Let's just get into it.
Excellent. Glad to have you back. Yeah, I'm excited for where this is going to go tonight. Yeah, I think we're probably all a little stiff, but not anybody as much as Dane.
Yeah, as I say, I had cold feet, but that's just because I'm dead.
It's gonna go all night. All right. Last but certainly not least, Karen.
Oh my god, you guys are dead to me. Just saying, oh, this is going to be a great session. I cannot wait. Well, yeah, I can. How it's going to go and the emotions that we're going to feel, and I'm looking so forward to it. And by the way, I'm Karen and I play Ariana, and this is our life.
Or death.
All right, like I said, hopefully Baron will be joining us here soon, but we're going to go ahead and get things started. So unless there are any kinds of questions or business to take care of before that, then I think we are ready to play some Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, there is one more thing. On July 29th, this game will celebrate its 3rd birthday. So happy birthday, everyone. That's just next week, which is pretty damn cool. Okay. I do not have an intro that I wrote for this. I don't think that it felt appropriate, so I abstained from doing so. So instead, we're going to begin with the fact that the battle in what remains of the keep of Vorgund has drawn to a close. The Gotheska have slain the Thunderhoof, who were garrisoned here, and they have taken the outpost back in the name of House Criminac. But above this outpost, up on a hill, we see this ancient temple of Dolora, the goddess of peace. As we slowly zoom closer towards this cathedral, we hear the sounds of combat, the screams, the clashes of steel. We see flashes of magic in the windows of this temple. And then the building begins to violently shake, and the stones themselves begin to move and slide, some of them falling towards the exterior and tumbling away. Dust begins to rise up in the area. We then see our heroes, the Sword of Vykaril, begin to exit from a cellar on the side of the temple, one at a time. Each one of them having in tow armfuls of these innocent Angorians, the orcish people who lived here in this area and who were taken captive and being used in the dark ritual of the Witch of War. Each of these heroes helping some of these innocents to escape the fate of this collapsing building. Suddenly, the building heaves and falls in upon itself with a tremendous amount of noise as the stones clack against one another, some of them shattering from the impact And finally, when the stones have come to a rest, the dust in the area begins to somewhat settle and clear. Looking around, you realize that there is no sign of Dane. The realization dawns upon you that he did not make it out before this building fell in. So, in that moment, what are you doing?
I think immediately I drop anything that I was like carrying or whatever, and I turn around and I say, Dane, and then I like go up to the rubble and just start moving rubble away, trying to clear it. Yeah.
I think that's Eddard's first course of action as well. Not necessarily super physically strong, but giving Sir John a hand as best as you can.
I believe we have Tord's siblings with us as well, right? There are
Yes.
two of them?
Correct, yeah. One of his sisters and his brother. Both of which are very badly drained of a lot of their blood.
Yeah, and I believe I was probably helping carry out the sister. And I just look to Tord, and I look back to the pile and look again to Tord, and without really even saying anything to him, I leave his sister there, and I rush back to help Sir John and Lord Eddard dig furiously, trying to get out. Hopefully find Dane.
You work feverishly, moving these heavy stones, each of them easily the weight of a person. These stones are incredibly large. Some of them covered in enough moss and growth that Ari might even wonder if they've been here longer than she's even been alive. And you very quickly realize that this is going to be an exhaustive process, that this is very likely to take hours. So, do you intend to continue until you find Dane? Or do you continue until you become tired, exhausted?
I think Eddard's first reaction is to call out for the Angorians at the bottom of the hill to at least try and get a couple more hands on deck.
Absolutely. And many of them will come to help, including Tord's brother-in-law. He'll come up and realizing that his wife has been found, his attentions will be diverted, and he'll be caring for her, as well as Tord's brother, because I imagine Tord is probably focusing on helping you guys. So they're able to make quicker work of it than your group is. Tord and Sir John probably faring the best amongst your group, just because of the sheer strength. Is Ares strength based or dex based? I think she's dex based. Yeah. So I would say Eddard and Ari probably wear out a little bit faster than Tord and Sir John, and most of the Angorian Gotheska. So it's going to take some time still. Each of you, by the end of it, will have taken a level of exhaustion. But eventually, you do find Dane. Not far from the entrance to this this exit that led all of you out of the danger of this collapsing cathedral. He just simply did not make it. I imagine there's probably an Angorian, maybe even two, with Dane that did not make it as well. He was probably escorting them to the exit whenever the last of the building collapsed. So there you find Dane's broken and already bruised body.
What's the damage like? Are the limbs attached? Like, is it? How bad does it look?
It's pretty gruesome. I imagine that he's probably mostly intact, but not wholly, and most of his body is probably fairly well crushed. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like unambiguous. Dane is dead.
Yes.
Not possibly like knocked out, but like
no.
Smushed.
Like his head is. It's probably pretty obvious that at the very least his skull is broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, we find him, clear away enough rubble to make the assessment, and then I think I just like howl. Probably like kick something or like throw stones somewhere. I'm kind of lashing out.
Ari would be likewise expressing the emotion, but more of a keening wail, I would say, as she's trying to cradle what remains of his battered body. Imagine at this time too, her hands are already bloody from trying to get away, like the rocks, and without heed of that, she's just has fallen to her knees and has like cradled his body and is just wailing like Sir John is, just letting out all that emotion.
I think Eddard's reaction is, it might seem from the outside more subdued than the others, but he is experiencing such shock at the moment that I don't think he's able to put two and two together properly. And through the shock, he is subsequently trying to show as much respect for the Angorians as his fallen friends, and he's trying to bring out the two that Dane had tried to save, if possible, to kind of where he's at. And he's just got this like blank look on his face, like trying to do the math in his head, and something's just not right.
I think aside from the general condition of his body and the fact that his skull is obviously broken, the most noticeable wound that you would see on Dane is that his arms have been pulverized, is the best way to describe it. They're just probably not even recognizable as arms anymore. They were probably wrapped around the other two Angorians, if I had to guess. All of you are having the moment with this discovery, the grief and the confirmation of your fear. And Tord would notice this, but so would Sir John and Ari, if memory serves correct. I don't think Eddard was there for the first encounter, but the three of you would notice that out of seemingly nowhere, there is a peasant woman who seems to be standing kind of just off to the side of the rubble of this cathedral. And those of you who have had an encounter with one of these beings before recognize her immediately as a wife of woe. The burning orbs of her fiery eyes and the black tear-like streaks that run from them. You have seen these before during the strange vision that you lived through that interrupted the grand melee in the tourney in Malrich. These wives of woe are emissaries of Thorn, the god of war. You know that she is here to claim the sword of Dane on behalf of Thorn, to take his soul to a warrior's paradise for his eternal rest. For now, she seems to wait, knowing that at least some of you can see her. Is there any kind of response?
I think something about seeing her sort of snaps Sir John into action. And I think I find or take off a cloak or something, and I cover Dane with it, and then I start to move Dane, remove him from this place to take him out and give him a proper burial. I realized this is a while ago, but when y'all were fleeing, did you have weapons drawn, or would it maybe be like in the scabbard?
I'll leave that question for Steve to answer.
I guess, does this sword even have a scabbard? Isn't it kind of like pulled
So-
from the ether?
So it does have a scabbard, and it's all very much like the sword is super worn, patched. No, I don't think. I think in fact, when you look back where you found Dane, his sword is wedged into a couple of pieces of stone, where Dane had tried to prevent some of this stone from falling on the people that he was holding, and so it's sort of jammed currently into that. And when it's removed, you can see like this piece of the foundation just sort of crumble into the hole.
Yeah, I think I probably pick Dane up and set him down and look back and see the sword and just sort of wrench it free, and I hold it for a little while, and then I think I am probably so bothered and disturbed by the feeling of pulling Dane out of this position that I kind of forget that this wife of woe is even there. And I think I just sort of lay the sword on the cloak and then sort of pick Dane up and carry him out.
Any of you who are familiar with the kinds of magic that can resurrect people or bring people back from the realm of the dead, you know that if the soul is laid to rest, that becomes next to impossible. There are certainly magics out there that can bring someone back. They're not exactly legal outside of practitioners of the virtuous divinity, but it is feasible. However, if you lay his soul to rest, if you allow this wife of woe to remove the blade that was Dane's, that he won't be coming back. That being said, anybody who is paying attention will see that the wife of woe is now moving forward towards the cathedral. Once she reaches the place where the sword has been laid on the cloak, she will kneel down and reach for the blade.
I don't know that I would even let her get close. I think like when she comes within, 10 feet of Dane, I think I would sort of step in between and just stand there looking at her.
You know that to meet the gaze of one of these wives of woe is ill-advised. That their stare is said to drive most people insane. But as you place yourself between her and Dane, she does come to a stop, not saying anything, not making any noise. And quite suddenly, one of the other people who was traveling with you, an entity known as Ash, who is likewise an emissary of Thorn, the god of war, also with burning orbs in place of her eyes and fire in her hair. She will step forward and place a hand on your shoulder, Sir John.
I can speak to her if you wish. Perhaps I could convince her to leave the blade, at least for now. Is this what you wish?
It is connected to Dane by destiny in ways that I do not understand. And it can't be separated from him just yet.
Very well. I will speak with her.
She then turns and steps a short distance away, the wife of woe moving away with her. They speak in a language that I doubt any of you understand, unless anybody speaks Ignan. They speak for just a brief moment before the wife of woe almost gives like a standing bow, like doesn't completely fold at the waist, but just enough to a dip of the head to show that she is she's agreeing to her terms. And the wife of woe then turns on her heels and walks back to the edge of the clearing and disappears into the tree line.
I think when she returns, I'm like, thank you. What happened?
I told her that there will be another time. Perhaps if you can find a way to return your friend to his body. Perhaps Thorn is not done with him yet.
I think some very dark thoughts move through my head when she talks about returning Dane to his body. Yeah, like that body is not suitable. I think my shoulders slump and I sort of acknowledge her with a nod or whatever, and then I think I just turn away and look at Dane some more.
Ari, Eddard, is there anything that you're doing during all of this?
Ari's gone silent since the wife of woe kind of came into the picture, and she's been watching this. And then when Ash says return, like Dane returned to his body as a kind of like a potential thing that could happen, Ari is, it's too bad Baron's not here, return to Tord and just, well, do something. I know you can heal. Why don't you heal him? You can't come back if his body's like that. And she's like releasing all of her frustration and misery really at Tord.
He's, I imagine, saying something to the akin of, I don't have that kind of power. That's not the kind of thing I can do.
Well, what good are you then? Do
Why don't
something.
you heal him?
So she'll turn and I've got this, fine. I've got this little jar of restorative ointment, and she'll pull it out of her pack, and she'll, don't know what it's going to do, but I'll at least try something. And she'll be starting to plaster it on the less damaged parts of his body. It's just an ointment.
Yeah, I imagine this is probably somewhat of a hard scene to watch, as it's very obvious that what Ari is attempting is, it's like, you know, trying to put a gauze on a gash. It's just, it doesn't seem like it's going to help. But there's this frustrated determination, I imagine, probably from Ari. Yeah, I think there's probably a very obvious mental break that everyone can kind of witness happening, and towards not reluctance to act, but his seeming inability to do anything is likely born out of the same sense of grief. Yeah. Steve, you had it. Damn it, Ari, don't you think I could have done it? If I could have, I've done it. Yep. What about Eddard? What is Eddard doing as this is unfolding?
I think that Eddard probably it's hard to say. This is quite the predicament. Eddard has seen his parents dead from a plague, and it's harder to comprehend the death of one of his close friends at this moment than it was to comprehend his parents' death in the underbelly of Warrington. So I think it's starting to show, but not quite like Sir John and Ari. I think he is just weeping, like tears from his eyes, but quietly. He goes to Dane's body and he just pulls a lock of Dane's hair and presses it into his journal. And then he just sits beside the body, just not unsure of what to do. Like, even witnessing what just happened with the emissaries of the god of war, he's like, for what? Like, return him to this body? Like, kind of in the same vein as Sir John. Like, this body is gone. So he's just unsure. This is certainly more for him to handle than his parents' death. And I think that's saying a lot.
The Angorians finish what they're doing with the outpost down the slope. They gather their mounts, and several of them have begun digging graves for the two Angorians who passed. And if it's okay with all of you, they will dig a third while they're at it. So as the
I think Eddard would kind of just, Sir John and Ari are in the area. Like, I'm sure you guys are within earshot of Dane. And I see them kind of starting to dig that third grade, and Eddard just, it's like something snaps in him. He's like, I can bring him home. And he's still crying, but I can bring him home.
Eli's first thought about that is logistics, but I don't think Sir John's would be, and I'm not sure how Sir John would react. I feel like, I think Sir John would be crying as well at this point, and would maybe like grab Eddard and bring him in for like a really tight hug.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think maybe like, through tears, like, he deserves to be home.
I know that in game, I think Malrich is the closest of the big cities to where Dane is from. Is that correct?
Yes, so Dane himself is from about a day's ride or so outside of Malrich, to the east, which is actually the direction that you guys have traveled. So you would reach Dane's home of fertile ground before you would reach the capital of Malrich.
Well, my thought here is I'm sure we're several days out from fertile ground now, though we've been traveling.
Yes, yeah. At this point, you're even several days from Shaneen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Eddard has a level 5 spell called Teleportation Circle. I think that brings everybody in the sigil with him to whichever sigil he is attuned to.
Excellent.
The only problem here is that we are on the cusp of this like major war battle with this warlord, and several days away, like weeks worth of travel from there.
Right. So yeah, while you could go from where you are to a major city that has a teleportation circle ring set up, coming back to this point would be very difficult.
Right. So, out of game, my biggest concern is time, obviously. He definitely deserves, like Sir John said, definitely deserves to go home. But how long can we wait? You know, should we have them dig like a temporary grave? Or should we lay him where
It's up to you guys.
where he fell?
Yeah.
It is a one-way trip. I can bring us back from that teleportation circle, but I have a feeling that Shanine is probably the closest one. So, and I mean, that's like 2 or 3 days minimum, because I'm sure Fertile Ground is about a day from Mount Ridge, and we're a couple of days from Shanine. So, I mean, that's like a journey. He definitely deserves it.
I feel like as soon as these logistics are being talked about or whatever by the characters, Sir John would say something like, Sir Dane would be mortified if we were to give up on our tasks to take care of him in this way. He deserves it, yes, but we can't do it now. We have to find some place to keep him safe until we are successful and can come back and take him ourselves.
Perhaps we could have someone ride to Shanine.
Overhearing some of your conversation, Ash once again will kind of approach your party and kind of wait for a lull in the conversation. And when Eddard brings up someone riding back to Shanine, she will speak up.
Perhaps I should return. I think it's important for the Duchess to realize that the Gotheska still rides. They might be able to face the Thunderhoof in open warfare now. This changes things. This might be a war, after all.
Very well. Sir John, all right, forward. I agree that Dane would not want us to stray from the path for himself.
So just so I can clearly understand what's going on, Ash is going to take Dane's remains back to Shanine and also deliver this message to the Duchess.
It seems like her intention is to return to tell the Duchess that this group still rides. So it seems like she is offering to take Dane if that's in fact what you guys want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't remember if last session I feel like I did this, but maybe I just thought that I did this. I have sending. So I feel like maybe I would have told the Duchess already that we had come across the Gotheska.
Oh, okay. I don't remember if that actually happened or not. It might have. It's been a little while.
I can't remember.
But you certainly could do so now, or even if you didn't actually do so, your character might have thought to do so. So that's fine. It's a good call.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but
it's up to you guys.
well, if you're okay to change that, I don't
absolutely.
know if like I said, I don't know if I did or not. I would just
that's
let
fine.
Ash know
Sure.
that the Duchess has already been notified. I told her.
I see. Good. Perhaps then the Gotheska themselves might wish to ride. Where would be a good place to hold this battle? I know that your plans are to go after the headhunter yourselves. But what then?
I'm not very familiar with the terrain here. I can't make that call. Perhaps Tord or maybe even the general, the Bethesda general, could make that call.
I imagine Tord and his brother-in-law will be able to discuss that with the rest of the Gotheska about where they think might make a good place for them to face whatever's going to remain of the Thunderhoof tribe, if you should succeed on your quest. So then what is the plan? Do you wish to send Dane with someone back to Shanine? Do you wish to try to find a place to lay him to rest, even if temporarily, somewhere here?
I think as these questions are sort of swimming around in the air, Sir John says something like, I worry about leaving him out here, even buried. It is a chaotic time in a chaotic place. It would be all too easy for something to come along and desecrate him further. I'm trying to remember what the latest is about my retainers. I think I sent one of them back west.
I think that you had discussed the possibility of not taking them from Shanine because of the dangers.
I think you're right.
So maybe we can send Dane's body back and they can look after his body until we come back.
Yeah.
Certainly.
I think my thinking is that, we're all having this conversation and maybe I look over at Tord or the general, if the general is there. I say, can you spare enough people to carry our friend's remains back to Shanine for safekeeping?
Without missing a beat, he nods his head. He says, of course.
Thank you.
It would be an honor.
I promise you I will make up for them on the battlefield.
Okay. With that, a contingent is organized. And they set out from the keep of Vorgund and head back west towards Shanine. So as that happens, the Gotheska are determining kind of where the battle might take place, what might happen next. What is your plan? The four of you. Are you pressing deeper into the territory of the headhunt or the Thunderhoof to try to find the headhunter? Try to find their camp? Is there a change in the plan at all?
I think that hosting a battle would mean a lot less people to deal with at the camp proper. Maybe.
So possibly even organizing with the Gotheska to perhaps start an attack that would draw the majority of the forces in response away from the camp.
Yeah, that sounds
I
good
think
to
that's the smartest move.
me. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the kind of thing that they're going to be organizing. The riders who are taking Dane's body back to the capital are going to organize with the forces that still remain at Shanine, and they will hopefully be able to unite together at some point and form a battlefront, essentially, stage an attack that will draw out the Thunderhoof into open conflict and give you a chance, hopefully, to sneak into the camp.
Yeah,
okay.
Sounds good to me.
Excellent. All right, so those who are leaving for Shanine head out, Dane's body with them, laid out in a wagon or a cart that had been salvaged, pieced together from a few that had not been completely destroyed. And you watch as your friend, your companion, the hilt of the sword of Vykaril, wheels its way westward. We're going to go ahead and take our break now. Hopefully, Baron will be able to hop in on our break, and then we'll hit the second part of what I have planned tonight. So sit tight. We will be right back. We're going to take a 10-minute break and go to the bathroom, refill our drinks, kiss spouses, smoke them if you got them, etc., etc. And then we'll get to the second half of session 29 of Beneath the Banner Shadow. I'm going to open my camera flap. Hi, everybody. Welcome back from the break. We will be getting into the second half of session 29 of Le Morte de Dane. Nope, not session 29 of that. Second half of that. That's the name of this episode, session 29 of Beneath the Banner's Shadow.
Well, really, haven't they all just sort of been leading up to this anyway?
It's true. This is kind of the pinnacle moment.
That's right.
What we've all been waiting for Dane to die.
Get rid of Steve. Wait, yeah, Dane to die. Never mind.
That too. Two birds, one stone.
Well, technically a church full of stones. Let's be honest.
That's fair. Okay. So we're going to now take a break from what we were just describing. Dane, you find yourself floating on your back in a fog-covered body of water. You feel that sensation of just floating, just drifting along without much to see or even hear. The fog is so thick that there's not really anything else to experience but just this sensation of floating in water. You don't feel threatened or in danger or concerned or worried. There's just this feeling that the water has you. It's cradling you, carrying you along. Is there anything that you say or do in this moment when you find yourself here?
I think the initial reaction is a release of tension, as the feeling of having two Angorians, which are much larger than Dane, sort of, pressed underneath of him in this huddled way. That sensation is gone. And I imagine that as the rocks begin to fall and Dane became pressed between the ground and these Angorians and the weight of a temple, I think the second thing that happens is this gasp, this shock as that pain is completely gone. And I think the only thing he says, "Mom?" And I think that word just sort of hangs in the air.
Yeah, it echoes around aimlessly for a moment, longer than it likely should. And just about the time that you realize that there doesn't seem to be any response at all, you see the fog begin to thin a bit. And somewhat off in the distance, you see a woman standing atop a rock that juts out near the water's edge. A sword held down by her side in her hand, just watching you. You realize that this is the washing woman, your patron.
So, it's over then. I failed. I tried. They'll make it without me.
Your body floats into some tall reeds near the base of this rock, and suddenly the washing woman is there in the water beside you, helping you to your feet. It is not yet over for you, Dame, but this moment may have a lasting impact.
I understand. There's always a cost to everything.
You are wise beyond your years, Dame. One of the reasons why I chose you. I think that it is time that you and I had a discussion. There are a few things that should be brought into a clearer light. I needed help, and I found you. Or rather, I made it so that you would find me. I took the form of Belgain the Fakin because I thought that perhaps you would find it more comforting. Perhaps you would be more inclined to help me. The truth of the matter is, you are more familiar with my true form. This entire time that we have been together, it is I you have carried in your scabbard. I am the sword Camagel.
I how?
I cannot fully explain, for before I was made, I did not have a conscience. I did not exist. But I know that there were many magics that went into my creation. When I was forged to unite the kingdom of Vykaril, to hold its people together in unity, in peace, to repel those who would undermine and corrupt its foundations. To that end, I was given a sense of self, an identity. I have been lost for some time, unsure if I would ever be found. In my absence, the kingdom has corroded, fallen apart. Rot runs rampant within its leaders. So I sought out those who could change that rot, those who could reforge the sword. That was you and your friends.
So, so you also employed the White Witch?
Yes. The White Witch and I have been familiar with one another for some time.
And the writing on the sword, when I found it, it had the same name that Toby had called his sword. That was just to make it more familiar.
To an extent, yes, but I was there whenever Toby was lost. A part of me, in the water, is when I first became aware of you.
Toby was a good person.
He was. Many good people have died because of the corruption, because of my absence. That is why it is imperative that we act. It is why it was important for me to take the measures of deception that I took with you. But for that I apologize.
That's how things are. Everything's given to us in terms that make it seem more agreeable. It's why in fairy tales the good guys always win. But that doesn't always happen. It's no, there's nothing to apologize for. Sometimes you have to do what's necessary. I understand that more now. I never wanted to kill anybody. I thought when I left home that I knew who I was, or at least who I would be. But I don't think that you and I are much different. I was lost too, maybe not for as long. And I didn't have some magic person put wisdom into me. I've had to learn that through bumps and bruises, but nonetheless. And I think I needed these friends as much as you did, so I guess thank you for that. I just wish you had told me before I was dead. but
I wish that I had as
maybe
well.
well,
But
hey, I
as
think
you
we did all right for a smart sword and a dumb squire.
as you so aptly said, Dane, nothing comes without a cost. Your wisdom came at a cost of these bumps and bruises you mentioned. The finding of me when I was lost came at a cost of, well, something less than the truth. As I said, your journey is not yet over, Dane. There is a price that must be paid in order to bring you back from where you are. It is a price that I will happily pay. However, it is not a price that I can pay in full. Powers that I have are reserves at this point. It will take much in order to bring you back from death. When I do so, you will never be the same. This magic will exact a toll upon you. Is this a price that you are willing to pay? Because I will not ask you to do so if it is not.
I think with that, Dane sits down on this little hill. It's outcropping, hangs his feet off over the edge, and is looking down into this slow-moving river. And underneath the river, there starts to sort of take form, whether it's where he is or his imagination, but these scenes from fairy tales and from the history of Vykaril are sort of playing out, and as they get to their end, or the main character dies, there's this wreckage that's left, these swords, these axes, these suits of armor, this barding from horses that all go from this opulent state, this heroic state, and you can sort of see them start to tarnish and rust as the reality of events sort of sets in over top of the fairy tales. And Dane stands up and he walks down this little hill back into the water till he's about thigh deep, and he's running his hands through the water, somewhere between caressing these images like someone might run their hand across a fine tapestry, and somewhere like you would try and erase a chalkboard. Yeah. I don't want to be done yet. There's too much left to do. My sister. Though whatever is going on with the Pendrakes towards family, these barbarians, And I can't be done. I haven't. There's kind of like a smile creeps across Dane's face. I haven't gotten to watch Sir John like writhe under the idea that he actually has to govern someplace.
She laughs lightly, and
We haven't won yet. And if this is a story I'm going to write, the good guys have to win this one too.
it makes me very pleased to hear you say that, Dane. Because my work is not through either. Vykaril is a troubled place. But it needs help. It, just like the sword, needs to be reforged. Starting anew, with new materials. Bringing the people together once more. And I cannot think of a better person to do it than you. You and the companions that you travel with. You are more than simply the symbolic sword. You are the new blood of Vykaril. You will be the ones to return it to its former glory, as you have already begun to do. And though you and I have walked side by side through most of this, from this point onward, you and I will be bound in a way that we never have before. We will be one and the same, you and I.
Well, then I guess I'm out of excuses, and we should get to it.
Very well. And with that, she places her hand gently upon your forehead and guides you back downward towards the water, where you then sink beneath the surface and into darkness once again. Back with the rest of the party, as you are pressing onward, Dane's body is making its way now westward, back to Shenin, with a few of the Gotheska who are returning to try to organize the Gotheska and the forces that remain at Shenin, for them to hopefully congeal? No, that's not the right word. Meet up and form a more impressive fighting force that will take on the Thunderhoof tribe. Is there anything retroactively, Baron, that you would like for Tord to do or have done or said, discovering that Dane had been buried beneath this collapsed cathedral before his body was sent to Shenin?
First, is my mic good? I didn't get a chance to.
Yep. Oh, it was good, and then it went crackly.
As long as you don't touch it, it's fine.
Yeah, right.
About that.
I think that's good.
I think really he probably would have just expressed, extreme grief. Can I I don't know if you just gave a recap. Some stuff started happening right as you were talking to me. What kind of transpired? I know that last I knew anyway, the church had collapsed and our friend was inside.
Yep, that's pretty much the long and short
him
of it.
out.
Yes.
We dug him out.
Yep. Some of the Angorians had come up to help you, and you labored to remove the stones until you found Dane. He was ushering 2 Angorians towards the same secret exit the rest of you had found and managed to take out of the cathedral. The collapse killed Dane and the 2 Angorians who were with him. And his body was very badly beaten and broken. His skull was broken in, and both of his arms were mangled to the point where they're not very recognizable. The 2 Angorians were laid to rest. They dug graves for them. While all of that was going on, a wife of woe showed up, one of the entities that serve Thorn, the god of war, that you met during the Grand Melee tournament in Malrich. They collect the weapons of dead warriors and bring them to Thorn for his approval, and if they are approved, then their souls are laid to rest in a warrior's paradise. Sir John did not want them to take Dane's sword, and so Ash, who is the emissary of Thorn, the same deity, intervened, spoke to the wife of woe, and turned her away. And then plans have been made for the Gotheska to meet up with the forces from Shanin to attack the Thunderhoof tribe, to draw the majority of their forces out of their base camp, to allow you to sneak in and go after Serinxatan, the headhunter.
All right, so I think Tord wasn't in the right spot, digging, and he kind of heard them shout, and the body's uncovered, and he never really approached. Having spent some time at the beginning of the search attending to his own family that were shackled here, that were unresponsive. Did that ever get resolved?
It would probably be resolved as we're coming back to the group at this point. They would have basically had to have rested in order to stave off the effects. They were drained of the majority of their blood, so they were pretty weak.
I imagine they probably weren't very talkative in this fatigue state. So I kind of just, see them off, make sure that they're in a position to move away from this area safely, I guess.
And your brother-in-law is there.
Skirt
the husband of your sister.
And that's kind of who I thought I would turn them over to.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes good sense.
Tord very much is distant from the group in the time leading up to probably right now when he rejoins those who remain. Very somber. His cheeks are definitely red. Approaching. Sorry, I have been distant. And I'm sorry I didn't bring him back to life.
Understanding the widespread, not only did we just lose Dane, but Tord lost his father and very nearly his sister. Eddard embraces Tord as tight as he can, patting you real good on the back. And he's still crying because this whole Dane situation has not gone over too well.
This has been devastating. And I can't help but feel some guilt for dragging us all out here. Dane especially.
Don't feel silly. You know, don't say that. You know that he wouldn't want you to feel that way. He came out here on his own accord, just as we all did.
And as the virtue of his knighthood, I know that. But I still feel as if something could have been done.
Something still can be done. Some sort of fate has driven us here. We've all made choices. We've all made hard choices and mistakes that have brought us to this place. And we can channel this grief and rage through the edge of our blades, take it out on the battlefield. Our quest is still before us. Dane cannot join us, but we can still do some good for the city of Shenin.
We will. The witch will die. Of this I am certain. And Syrinx will follow.
So John sort of grabs Tord on the shoulder, like clearly a precursor to a big old strong hug, and says, "We will be sure of it."
Very well. And like, Tord has long since discarded the need for pride, and he's tearing up again.
Yeah, I think Sir John's been sort of crying intermittently all day, or however long this has been going on.
So my brother will be moving to meet the Shenin militia. We make our way for the camp, correct?
Yes. We worked out a signal with them ahead of time.
Excellent. Is there anything else we need to do here?
Was Tord's sister sent back with the convoy to Shenin?
That's kind of up to all of you, but that would probably be the best idea.
The smart
with
thing.
With their current state. Okay. Yeah, so if there is nothing else, then the group of you begins to set out upon the road. Sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
curious, did Ash head out with the, what are they, the Gothezka?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that seems like where the war is going to take place. So that's definitely where she feels the most pull, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Okay. So you press on. The situation, the air is dour and heavy. You continue deeper into the area that you know is occupied by more of these thunderhoof orcs. And at some point, you come across yet another town that seems as though it had no warning, that it was spared no amount of carnage and mayhem, and every building has been razed to the ground and is nothing more than a burnt heap. There are the charred remains of Angorians on spikes and rows around the outside of the town, some of them merely heaped together. You notice at any point where you would find a dead warrior's body, however, anyone of note, that their heads are missing. Again, this is not an uncommon thing. You saw the first Thunderhoof that you encountered engaging in such an activity. Tord even dappled with taking such a trophy or a prize before there was some mild pushback from other members of the group. We won't say any names, sorry. But it's becoming more apparent, more obvious, more consistent that you're seeing this. But it's what you find at the edge of this village that kind of stops you in your tracks for a moment. The body of water there, this pond, this small lake, is as red as blood. And the closer you get to it, you can smell and maybe even taste on the air a very heavy, coppery taste of iron in your mouth. One of you, if you would, please, a volunteer. Okay, I saw Josh's hand, so Eddard. As you're riding past this body of water, noting the way that it looks and smells, you see several bodies floating in it. But there's one that you spot floating on its back. And you realize that this is not an Angorian, that this is a human. And as you get closer, you realize it is in fact Dane.
Okay, immediately, do I feel any sort of magic on the air?
Roll Arcana.
Because, yeah. Let's see. $18.
So, amongst the smell and the taste that's kind of lingering here, that kind of iron taste in your mouth, there's something else about it. You can feel the particles almost of whatever this is, and it doesn't feel like they're just milling about through the air or that they're settling downward. It's almost more as if they're rising up into the air. These kind of small little tingles, the sensations kind of on the underside of your arms and the underside of your chin. You can feel these particles as they seem to almost rise, though you can't perceive them in any other way.
For me to have felt it, it's got to be pretty strong, I would say. So I would definitely call out to everybody just to let them know. I wouldn't say anything about Dane. I would just let them know. Be wary, there's a powerful magic afoot.
So John's sword is in his hand immediately.
Do you feel it?
I trust you.
Edgar kind of brushes his shoulder off. It's giving him a real bad feeling. And also he doesn't make any note of the human corpse in the water. He turns his head away, fairly certain that it's an illusion, and somebody is trying to do something to him, because he just saw Dane's corpse leave on a horse going the other way. So, not falling for it.
Can I use my divine sense? Is there anything celestial, fiend, or undead afoot within 60 feet of me by this place? That's not behind total cover.
Yes, it's, what is it? Celestial, fiend, or
Fiend.
undead?
Or undead, yeah.
Okay. I think that there are probably traces of celestial in the water nearby. You see them almost like, maybe almost like oil slick on the surface of water, on the surface of water around Dane's body.
So I clearly see this body. Could I
I was going
have?
to say,
now.
does he see that it's Dane's body as well?
Yeah,
You
do
do
I
now.
observe that it's Dane?
Yeah.
So I'm walking up to you, Eddard. Would I like recognize this sensation as something I've picked up before with my divine sense, or is this totally new as of now?
I don't think, within the scope of the campaign at least, that you guys have encountered any celestials. Whether or not you would have met any or seen any before that, that's up to you.
I guess realistically I'm asking because I don't know if Tord even knows what the hell he's experiencing right now.
He might not.
Be fresh for him. But I'm getting like a positive.
Yes.
sensation from
I know for a fact that you have come across undead in the campaign.
it. Right.
So you've used this ability before. So this is a similar thing, but the feeling is very different. And yeah, if the feeling of the fiends, the undead, is one that's strongly negative, then I definitely think that the celestials would be a strongly positive feeling.
Edit, I'm no dowsing rod, but there's something off about the blood puddled here.
No, do you feel it?
I feel something.
Do you see? And he can
Dane.
hardly bring himself to say it. Yeah.
Dane in the water? Yes, absolutely. It's completely unnerving.
What?
Look, Sir John, you can look for yourself.
You say it's magic?
Some sort.
Certainly must be an illusion.
I think I sort of grip my sword. It's maybe not like overt, but you can tell from knowing me for the past several months, like when I aim to do a violence, and I sort of do that and start to step toward the pool.
How far have we traveled? Not that far, huh?
It's probably been the better part of a day.
Okay. What do you make of this, Tord?
I don't make anything of it. I think we should pull it out and look at him. And I'm actually going to follow Sir John and try and grab this body and pull him free of the...
Sure, I'll follow as well.
I think I maybe raise my sword a little bit as if to strike, but then I see you recovering the body instead, and I'm like, I sort of shake my head and sheathe my sword and go to help. Actually, no, I don't sheathe my sword, but I do go to help.
Good idea. This may be a trap.
Ari is staring back, not trusting this. I mean, her own eyes saw his body leave the other way, and strange things happen, but they're not always good. So she'll have stayed back and is watching them as they approach. And she's got her bow out, ready in case that this is a trap.
So the group of you on high alert, weapons at the ready. Toward Sir John, each of you place a hand upon Dane's cloak or what have you, his tabard, and begin to drag his waterlogged body up onto the shore. And as you do so, the two of you, and likely Eddard as well, would notice that the red in the water, what you realize is rust, seems to follow Dane's body out of the water and leaves almost a red trail of rust up onto the shore beneath his body. You realize that while this does in fact look like Dane, that he seems to be changed somewhat. Steve, would you describe how Dane looks different?
So as you pull him out, the studded leather that Sir John had purchased for him just sort of sloughs off of him. And some of you had seen him shirtless before. He had scars from where his old master would beat him. And those now sort of run across his body in these red veins, but not like blood veins, like veins in a rock. And they sort of culminate in each of his shoulders and run down his arms. And as they get to the elbow, the whole forearm down to his hands on both sides look like they're just covered in rust. And you could even see parts of it flake off and start to float away in the breeze. There's, he's always been a pale kid, but there's a pallid complexion about him. You can tell that he looks damp more so than just having been in the water. Like there is a definite change to his skin as far as I avoided the word moist, guys. I avoided it. And he still has the bruises and cuts and stuff that he had on his body from the rocks, the rubble of the temple. But at the moment, his body's still very lifeless.
Tord is using his cloak to clean off, the water from your face and get what he can.
Yeah, and I think I open a water skin or something and pour it over your forearms and try and get some of this rust off. I'm curious, what the reaction is. Does it seem like your forearms are made of rust now, or what?
So they still feel like they're flesh, but if you imagine a combination of a really bad sunburn where it starts to peel, calluses and actual rust. Like as you scrape it away, you can tell that if you scrape any harder, you're going to be removing like flesh.
Yeah,
The
I think I
rust is
note
still
out of
there.
that pretty quickly then. I'm like, oh, more weird shit. Cool. And I'm
Also,
sorry,
his
did you
arms
say
are
that you
ice
have
cold.
more or fewer scars than you used
More.
to?
They're
Okay.
just where they had healed. Now they're this bright rust red. Even the cuts that he received in the temple collapse, where, you know, in the day that they've had a chance to sort of heal, are not healing naturally. They've got that sort of red, muddy gunk you would expect if you were to try and pull the rust off of a blade.
I think at some point, perhaps, if Sir John was trying to remove some of this rust, perhaps maybe it did cause a small wound to Dane, maybe removing some of that, almost like peeling back a scab that wasn't ready, kind of thing. And one of you notices as that happens that Dane's sword, which is there in his scabbard, but you can see that a part of it seems to have deteriorated further than it was before. A part of it is missing that wasn't before. The corrosion and the rust has advanced even further. It's deeper pitted. But when Dane is hurt, you notice that blood begins to seep from the blade itself. That went over well. Excellent. Okay.
Throw him back.
They're just
I
like,
don't know about this
no.
gun.
Clearly not him. Splash.
This isn't the Dane that we know.
This kid's
This
more
one.
trouble than he's worth.
Rusty
Foul
veins,
magics.
bloody swords. Nope.
This is like the player 2 skin.
The palette swap. And he's still dead.
He is cold to the touch and pallid, but he seems to be breathing.
You see that? His chest, it moves.
I think Sir Dane reaches out for Sir Dane. I think Sir John reaches out for Dane's chest and almost grabs him by the collar and tries to shake him awake. And then he's like, someone else wake him. And Sir John stands up, and he's actually got, it looks casual, but he's got his sword sort of over his shoulder, and he is 100% ready. You can tell to bring that down and attack if he needs to.
I think Eddard's actually going to try and use a spell to communicate with Dane. I guess this may work, even if his body, or even if his spirit is not here. I'm going to use sending. I think it goes across planes.
Interesting. All right.
So I'm just going to say, just simply under my breath, are you in there? And there's just this purple mist that comes from Eddard's mouth.
So
All
Dane,
right, watch out. Tord is gonna like rub his hands and just pump you with a lay on hands for all it's worth.
So Dane, go ahead and roll that, Barrett. Dane, you are again pushed beneath the surface of the water, floating in this blackness. Almost instantly, you hear Eddard's voice. Are you in there? And then Tord,
you get
what you
50 hit points back.
Clear.
Yeah, right. And then all of a sudden, there's this blinding bright light that kind of floods your vision, and you cough a mouthful of water, kind of up, sputtering, and open your eyes, and you see your companions staring back down at you.
So I think in that coughing, Dane manages to sit up, and he reaches for his head, like it's throbbing, and he, sort of like between his fingers, looks to Eddard. Yes, we are here.
We?
What?
We?
Oh, we what, Eddard?
You said we are here.
Yes, I'm here.
Where is Dane?
This is him. This is Dane, Sir John. He heard me.
I look down at my arms. I died. I was dead.
I think Sir Dane, or damn, I did it again. I think Sir John drops his sword, falls to his knees, then pulls Dane into a really tight hug. And when he sort of when they finally part, Dane, what is a token or a trinket that you would have carried around that you would have had on your person when you died?
Oh man. And you're probably the only person that knows this. It's the only letter he ever actually sent home and then got back. And so it's this lengthy, childish apology to his mother for having left. And on the back of it, it's just a note from his mom that says, "Come home." And he's had that on his person.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we hug, we sort of part for a moment. You've just said, I died, and then, or I was dead or whatever. And Sir John pulls the letter from his satchel, purse, whatever, and puts it up against your chest and says, but not forgotten.
And Dane will take it, and you can see that this parchment that is written on, you can see the red from Dane's fingers start to spread. And you see it start to cross over where it says your mother, and he just drops it. A price for everything.
I think Sir John sort of instinctively picks it back up and holds it out to you.
I can't.
I will carry it, and puts it back where he brought it from.
couldn't be dead. We couldn't be dead. We're not done yet.
What do you mean?
And he like looks across each of you. We swore we would unite Vykaril. And we've been lost too long.
Did you learn the path forward?
We are the path. Each of us. I don't have better answers.
You're looking
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, as you're looking around, you're probably noticing that everybody's looking at you. Ari has not lowered the bow. It's still very much drawn and pointed at you, and she is looking at you very intently. Basically, she's not believing anything that you're saying at this moment, and she is watching you. I'd like to do an insight on this apparition in front of us.
Okay. Please roll that.
I'd like to roll deception. I'm just kidding.
That's not terrible. That will be a 16.
Okay. I think that would determine the truth behind Dane's words.
Yeah. I think as you're looking at me, and I can sort of see you scrutinizing me. In Elvish, I say to you, it's me, Ari. I came back. But and I think in this case Elvish is a lot like Spanish in this instance, in the fact that there is a proper plural. You know, it's like in Spanish you have ustedes, which is like, you know, that very formal, like you all. And so in this very formal version of the word, he says, I came back, but we are changed.
Without lowering, Ari will reply in Elven. Like, we are changed? Who is this we?
All of us. None of us will be the same.
I think also, Ari, with that insight that you rolled just a moment ago, you realize that Dane isn't exactly talking about just your group. The we that he keeps mentioning, the us that he keeps mentioning, there seems to be something else to that.
Do you think you can stand
long as you promise not to ever heal me like that again.
I could say something real sassy right now, but I'll do that.
You're not very forthcoming with answers right now, are you?
I was just dead, Ari.
Aye, and I just set your body back the other way.
Oh, thank you. But I couldn't go back.
How do we even know it's him? And she's looking to Eddard and Tord, Sir John, who have all like just accepted his word. He's not even talking the same.
I spoke with him beyond this plane, the mortal plane, before he came back. He heard me. I
Dane,
believe it's him.
if that is you, when you awoke, you said, "We are here." And if that is you, you know the trials we have faced and the suffering we have endured at the hands of dark magic. You may not completely understand what it is you have experienced, but we must know everything that happened to you and why you think you are a multitude now.
So I think in a very startling moment, Dane's sword appears in his hand. Oh, this rusted, pitted blade.
Ari's just a little bit more tense now with the bowstring.
I think Tord is kind of like abrupt here. Are we absolutely serious right now? This is Dane, and if it is a facade, well, I'll entertain it. And I'm going to pour some water into a cup. Please, Dane. Drink something. Maybe are you hungry?
You'll forgive me, Tord. I've had enough water.
I understand. Dying is an ordeal. Can we help you? Is there anything you need? Here, and Tord, remove. I don't know if you said the armor had slinked off, so I will offer Dane my cloak as well.
So I have like a poncho on, so I have my cloak on the back, your cloak on the front.
Your cloak is really damp.
Moist even.
As soon as it gets dark, you risk catching cold. Hypothermia is a silent killer.
It was a nice cloak.
So I'll take your cloak and I'll wear it, and then I'll turn towards Ari, and I sort of have the sword pointed out towards you. And then
Like the pointy end?
yeah.
Okay.
Like, here, take my sword. You too can be part of the collective. But I hold it out, and there's this lapping sound of water, and that familiar sort of gold glow starts to emanate from the ground around Dane's feet. And then a slight breeze blows across, and you can see the flakes that are the rust on his skin start to flake off. And they start to almost fill the air in this, like a snowfall, like a rust-colored snowfall that stays close to Dane. And the gold energy runs up, and you can see it get diluted and dulled as it runs across his arms and out to his hand. And then you can see the pits and the swords start to form back in. The rust starts to fall off. The blade starts to shine. And at the same time, you can see the wounds that Dane had on his face from the stone blocks in the church start to reopen. Little bits of blood start to drip out of them and run down his face. This is us. Myself. And Camagel. I think in that moment, he's pushed enough energy into the sword that it actually looks like what you would imagine Camagel to look like. But it looks like it should still be hanging on that wall. And the gashes are a bit deeper. It was never my grandmother. It was always the sword. This is the price I paid to come back. To be with you. All of you.
I think so. John immediately falls to his knee, like in a bow.
As soon as you said Camagel, and we see what the sword has become, Ari has lowered the bow at that point. But she doesn't step close to you at all. She just lowers the bow, listens to the rest of what you're saying about it was never your grandmother, was always the sword. I think at this point, a little tear kind of comes to the corner of her eye, and without basically acknowledging anything you said besides the fact that she's lowered the bow, she just turns and walks away.
As you walk away in Elvish, you hear Dane say, "See, there's always a price." And I don't think Dane can sustain that for very long. So I think the sword starts to rust back over. And I think most of the wounds on him probably heal, but not all of them. So I didn't lie. We will all be changed from this day forward, just some of us more than others. Tord, your father said thank you.
You seen him?
I think I've seen everyone who's ever died. At least died in a way that meant something. And you should know his death meant something.
It makes the hurt less, but it doesn't get rid of it.
Nor should it. Well, you all look very tired. And if I'm to be honest, coming back from the dead is way more exhausting than you might think. It looks a little early in the day, but do you think we could rest for a bit?
that's what you need, Dane, then I think we should take some time.
I imagine it's what we all need. I don't imagine those rocks move themselves.
Suppose Dane's right.
Okay. Sounds like the party will be looking for a nearby place to set up camp, probably away from the charred remains and raised village, I would imagine.
Right. Let's just camp right next to Corpse River.
And Bloody Pool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the view I want.
Smelled nice.
It's rust.
That's not blood.
I was in there. It's only
a-
mostly rust.
It's a bloated pool.
Dane, have you been treated for tetanus?
I am tetanus.
My patron.
No, Dane. We are
Sir
tetanus.
Tetanus.
We.
Sir Tetanus. Fantastic. I think that's where we're going to go ahead and stop for the evening. So I think what we will do is in our chat, kind of discuss what the plan might be about how you're going to approach the base camp, what that might entail, and then we'll kind of touch on that at the beginning of the next session as well. Kind of go into the formation of like how those plans are going to start coming together. Yeah, that was fantastic, everybody. I knew it was going to be a shorter session, but you guys did a fantastic job and brought the right amount of weight to the temporary death of Dane. Steve, if you would please level Dane up. This will put Dane at the same level as the rest of the party. However you wish to interpret that level, given the circumstances, I will leave that completely up to you.
Take a level in sword.
That's what Baron had mentioned. So yeah, you'll be 10th level. Everybody else, I think, is already 10th level, should be. And next time is going to be a bloody mess. It'll be a lot of fighting next time, so bring your dice. Even though you didn't need them this session, you'll need them next session. Cool. Like I said, happy 3rd anniversary, everybody. Happy 3rd birthday. As of July 29th, we are 3 years old. So congratulations. It's been fantastic so far, and I'm not going to say I hope it goes another 3 years, but but you never know with this group. No, for real. It's been a blast. I can't wait to see what else lies ahead in our tale of fealty, courage, and woe. I'm going to pass things back over to the players so that they can say whatever they'd like to say, plug anything that they'd like to plug, and then we're going to call it an evening. So we will start in reverse order. We'll start with Baron this time.
Hello, everyone. I'm Baron. I play Massacre Tord. Gosh, I'm just so fortunate to be in this game, and I'm never in a position where I forget that. I'm super grateful for you guys, and 3 years seems like just not enough time. So thanks for having me, as always. I have nothing to plug. I write stuff in my spare time, but I'm so busy doing stuff in my life that I don't do shit. So you'll see me here.
Fantastic, man. Glad to have you as well. Always, always. All right. Next up, we have Karen.
Hello, everyone. Karen here. That's me. Also Myth and Gears. But yeah, we're real slow over there on that channel because yeah, life is, hectic and stuff. But sometime it will slow down and we'll be able to do stuff over there, and I would love that. Meanwhile, I get to play in this awesome campaign with these amazing people. I look forward to it every month. sad that we missed last month, but I'm so glad that we were able to get this month in and resolve Dane's death. I don't think that's resolved at all now. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen for the future and what this means for the party, because that's a big change. That's all I'm going to say. Thanks, everybody.
I'm sure that nothing will come of it. It'll be perfectly okay, benign, fine. Everything will be hunky-dory. Speaking of hunky-dory,
Moist even.
Everything nice and moist. Speaking of nice and moist, Josh?
What a segue. I just want to take a moment to appreciate that. No, guys, 3 years, and we are absolutely, what is it, 0 for 5 in our quest to reforge the sword. I think it may only take about 15 more years. But no, it really, it's been an absolute blast and an honor. Still remember the day I got tagged by Jeremy in that post to play in this game. I was just so hyped. And you guys have all not let me down. It's been a real honor and privilege to play next to some of you guys and call you my friends. So love y'all very much. 3 years, and yeah, here's to many more sessions. I'm not gonna say 3 years more, but I mean, who's to tell at this point? Again, I was Edward Bainton tonight. Not too much to plug. Everybody else, I'm going to kind of mirror the sentiments. Life is just a bit much for extracurriculars at the moment. So hopefully we'll all get back into the normal swing of things soon. But thanks everybody for watching here and in the past and in the future.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Yeah, life's been hectic, but I'm very, very happy that we managed to make this this session work out. It was hard not playing last month. It was the right call to go ahead and skip because I wanted to have everybody here to be able to kind of comment and react to what was happening with Dane. So I'm glad that we managed to make that work out. Speaking of Dane, see, that's a nice easy segue. Steve.
I was really hoping you were gonna say Eli, like just
Maybe I should have.
yeah. So yeah, it's weird to think it's been 3 years. That's a really, but I've definitely I can echo some sentiment here. Come to think of all of you as very, very dear friends of mine, and so you know that's been the best part of the whole campaign, honestly, is being able to play alongside all of you. And yeah, I don't know where this is gonna go, so I guess we'll see. And I appreciate everyone who tunes in to watch, and just look forward to next session. Also, life is hectic, so I don't have anything to plug because my goodness, is life. I haven't even actually held a full conversation with Karen in like 3 weeks, which is weird because we normally talk every single day. Like life has been that crazy. So hopefully soon.
Yeah, with any luck, the boat will right itself and we'll get a little more even keeled for everybody's sake. I know that everybody could use a little bit of a break from the tumult. Speaking of tumult, Eli. No.
Yeah, quick note, we decided in the chat that Sir John's going to be played by Randy Savage from now on, so I think get in line, brother. No, so it's really cool that we've been playing for 3 years, and it's really cool too that we're just like 3 side quests away from really getting into the meat of this. Well, like, you know, 6 side quests. Okay, maybe a dozen, maybe like 20, but we'll get there. It'll be fine. It's about the journey, not the destination, right? I too have been up against the ropes like everyone else, but ironically, the thing that's got me up against the rope is something that I can promote. It's a little game I kickstarted called External Containment Bureau. It's a game of paranormal investigation and bureaucracy, and we are within spitting distance of having this game out in the public, which feels really good after about 6 months of development. The game's in great shape. If you're a Kickstarter backer, keep those eyes peeled because we're going to be sending out some cool stuff very soon. If you're not a Kickstarter backer, you can pre-order the game on itch.io. I think it's, if not the same price that people paid on Kickstarter, it's at the very least pretty cheap. So pick it up now before the price increases, folks. Once again, that's External Containment Bureau. It's a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Anybody who mentioned channels and such, you should be able to find links for those in the description of the video below. Please do go check them out. If you find anything like that that was mentioned that is missing, please let me know. Send me a comment and I will add it. So yeah, that's everything that I can think of. Next month there will be a brand new campaign starting session 0 at the end of the month. It'll be the 4th Wednesday of every month, and this campaign will also take place in the same world as this campaign, the world of Rosfin, but it will take place in an entirely different kingdom, the kingdom of Gilded, which is based on Spain, France, Venice, Orlais from Dragon Age, so it's very Baroque, lots of masquerades and swashbuckling and that kind of stuff. I'm hoping it's going to be a lot of fun. I have a series of fantastic players lined up for that, and am very, very excited to get that off the ground finally. So I think that covers all of the announcements. Thank you everyone who has tuned in, whether you're watching with us live this evening or whether you may be watching at some point in the future. I love you guys. All you players, all you people who are out there watching, care about you. So thank you for coming and spending some time with us. If you like this kind of stuff, hit the like button, subscribe, stick around. There's a lot of content on the channel from the past, and there will hopefully, fingers crossed, be a lot more in the future. But until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach, brother!